what we found is that we have backslid since the last time we did the survey in 2019, and we have had a withering blow to gender equality. In fact, there are less women working in the US now than there were in 1988, just to put that in context. And the pipeline for leadership, for women in leadership, from first line manager to senior executive has dropped around 20% across all those levels of pipeline. Despite the fact that there are 86% more programs addressing diversity training, right? So what the reason is around this business priority? What we found was that the organizations that you've described as first movers, if they made it a key business priority, articulated as their top 10, they did get the progress, which we can talk about. And when you look at what that means, what we found is organizations that don't have that simply do not see diversity as key to their business survival. And they have typically, therefore, not driven out the hard outcome type of programs, such as insisting on gender blind hiring or insisting on having a gender balanced slate for every job, or setting explicit and hard targets. So the net is, if you don't make it a top 10 priority, it's probably because you don't see it as essential to your financial survival. And as you said, what we found is companies that do, our first movers, tend to have both better financial outcomes, more innovation, happier employees, and better customer service.
And what distinguishes effective programs from ineffective ones? Because it is quite interesting to see that more and more companies are instituting these programs, but actually it's not translating into better outcomes in so many cases.
Yeah, I think that is such a key point. There is money, there is focus, there are well-intentioned programs, but they aren't translating into outcomes. And we're actually seeing almost the gender equity fatigue. So what we found, just to put this in context, is since 2019, women and men at the rates of 71% for women and 67% for men thought that gender parity would improve in 2019. That's dropped to 62% of women and 60% of men. And so what we found is that although programs like diversity training, parental leave, making sure that there are flexibility around the pandemic, having people work from home, all of those things are good and appreciated. It really is, I'm going to say, the hard targets. Has every job got a woman succession candidate? Do people in the organization see that men, highly qualified men and women, are promoted at around the same rate? Do senior executives speak out if they see bias? Does the organization set transparent and trackable gender targets? So I would say, the harder outcomes have to pair with a lot of the programmatic disclosure and diversity training. The second thing I think, which really makes a difference, is sponsorship, right? A mentor speaks to you. Think about mentoring. A sponsor speaks about you and for you. And we found that in organizations that support sponsorship, or women that have sponsors, tend to earn around 10% more than those that don't. And in fact, if it's a male sponsor, that goes up to almost 15%. Sponsors can have a huge impact because there are more male managers. And so there are more male managers who can help pull women up. All those things make a difference. And then finally, because we're losing women at such a rate, we have to think about how to recruit and how to return women to work. One of the things we at IBM have done is we've created a returnship program where we try and get women to come back into the workplace, and we provide a lot of support and tools and mentoring in a years-long program to support returning. 99% of the people who use that program are women, and over this pandemic, it's increased by about 186% the applicants that are coming for that. So things like returnships, gender-neutral hiring, I think, are absolutely critical here.
But I want to focus on that because by numbers, it does tell an alarming story. In the US alone, 5 million women pushed out of their jobs during this pandemic, taking participation to the lowest level since 1988. And when we just saw some unemployment figures out of the United States last week, a 6.2% unemployment rate, but the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen saying the unemployment is really closer to 10%. How long does it typically take to get those women back into the workforce? Are they just naturally encouraged by better job prospects when more jobs are posted or positions are posted? And what is it going to take to bring those jobs back in the first place?
So I think those are such important points, and I think there are really 3 points. The first is one I think we're all concerned about, which is the type of jobs being very heavily digital and technology based. So organizations and education and programs that are all around technology and digital. IBM, for instance, sponsors a group of schools called P-Tech, which allow people to have a very fast pathway to technology from a high school to an associate's degree. So the first is the type of jobs and getting women focused from primary education on technology and digital skills. I think the second thing is significantly focusing on attracting women and gender blind hiring. That is absolutely critical for women to actually make it through the process. And then I believe that the third most important thing that organizations can do in terms of getting women back into the workplace is really showcase and highlight diversity days like today, what organizations do to get it out there that they're hiring, especially for technical jobs. The other thing that will help a lot is as we print and make more and more transparent the diversity numbers. I mean, many countries around the world have demanded board representation. We see improvements in that. The diversity numbers throughout the management levels, I do believe will absolutely improve these numbers over time.